Hey everybody, welcome to the Baby Lock Ovation Serger manual. Today what I would like to do is show you how to secure the end of your seam if your seam is not being secured by something else. What I mean by that is, when you're garment sewing or doing other projects, most seams are finished by something else, either an intersecting seam or a hem. But sometimes you have a seam that you have finished serging and there's nothing at the bottom of it or at the top of it. An example of that would be if you're going to leave the edges raw on the hem of a tee, for example, you're going to want to make sure that those seams near the hem are secure so they don't unravel when you wash your garment. So that's what I want to show you today. If you're following along in the manual, I'm working on pages 72 and 73. All right, so I'm just going to show you how to do this with a piece of muslin. And I want to make it really easy to see, so I'm using black serger thread in my loopers and in my needles. So to secure the beginning of your seam, that's the first thing I'm going to show you. What you want to do is put your fabric under the needles. So I've got it in there. I'm going to put the presser foot down, and I'm going to hand walk the needles forward 3 stitches. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, with the needles down in their lowest position, I'm going to raise the presser foot. Then I'm going to take my tail from behind and I'm going to swing it around like this and make sure it's nice and, smoothed out. And I'm going to just wrap it right in front of the presser foot like this. Okay, but not in front of the knife yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the edge of my fabric like that. All right, then I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm going to start serging for about, I don't know, between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. And what it's going to do is it's going to catch that tail in the seam. So let's do that. Okay, after I've done about 1/2 inch, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the tail and I'm going to slide it over so it's now right in front of my knife. And it's going to cut it off and I can finish doing my seam. Let me show you how to secure the end of the seam as well. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch till we get right to the end of our fabric. And I'm actually going to hand walk it at the end so I can stop the minute the needles swing off the fabric. Okay, so when they're off the fabric, I'm going to leave my needles in the highest position possible. I'm going to raise my presser foot. All right, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the fabric gently back to get the stitches off the stitch finger. I'm going to upend my fabric and I'm going to bring my start point towards me and put this now face down. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip it like this. Okay, just very carefully. And I'm going to pull it towards me as I do that, okay, and slide it back under the presser foot. And what I want to do is I want to get it so when I put the needles down, they're right at the edge of the seam, so the end of the seam. I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm also going to put my knife down because I don't want to cut any of the stitching that's already on the edge. So I'm going to lock my blade in the down position. Then I'm just going to take 5 or 6 stitches. Okay, and then after I do that, I've now secured those ending stitches by stitching over them again, sort of like a back tack on your serger. Then I'm going to raise the presser foot, turn the fabric so it's perpendicular to the presser foot, wiggle the stitches off the stitch finger, put the presser foot down, and then I'm going to serge off so I can cut the tail. All right, so let's take a close look at what we've done here. All right, let's look at the start of the seam where I secured it at the beginning. You can see here the tail is trapped underneath the seam, and I'm just going to hold the edge of the serged edge right about there. That's where my needles were when the tail was cut off by the knife. So everything from here to here is the length of tail that was also secured in the stitching because that's what was left after the knife cut it. So the tail's longer than you would expect it to be if you only, if you're thinking, oh, I'm only taking, 4 stitches, that's back here, but then it also has to secure the distance between where the needles are and where the knife cut it off. So that's why the tail seems longer than the amount of, the amount of stitches that I actually secured it with. Then I continued, okay, down to the end, and I'm going to flip it over because that's where you can see the side that was face up. You can see that the end of the seam is secured by the second row of stitching that I did, almost like a back tack on your sewing machine. So that's how that looks. I'm just going to cut off the tail right there. I've been using this technique on tees that I don't finish the hem because it's a matte jersey or something that doesn't need to be hemmed. And these hold up really well wash after wash. Now, the thing I want to point out is that's very obvious, okay? And the reason why it's very obvious is because it's black thread on muslin. If you're going to be using thread that coordinates with the color of your fabric, that's not going to look as noticeable. So, consider using this method to secure seams that are not intersected by another seam, or, you're not going to be doing a hem. All right, so that's how you secure a seam using your serger, almost like a sewing machine, and back tacking. If you have any questions about this technique, please post them below. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again soon.